Hi everybody, welcome to our weekend check-in video for PSY-45 research methods on Saturday, September 25th. I'm just going to go over a few items as I always do. Reminders, clarifications, heads up, all the usual stuff you know by now. So first up here is that you should have received feedback for part 1 of your paper submission there, your topic, your thesis statement, and your list of 10 APA style references. I do provide pretty detailed feedback because there are sometimes errors, especially regarding the APA-style formatting of your references, so please do take a look at that. I provide it for you so that you can easily remedy the problems there, and really most of those problems are easily remedied. All you have to do, for example, is make sure that you italicized your journal titles or italicized the volume number, and that you double space and you don't have the author names all in uppercase letters. So please do fix those things because they're pretty easily to fix. And next time you got to write a paper in APA style, like our second part and our third part, it'll be a lot easier because you'll have all that figured out and corrected there. And speaking about the next part of our paper, part 2, you will find the instructions there. This is what's called the outline of your paper. You'll find the instructions in the same APA literature review module that I've dedicated there for you. It's underneath Unit 5 of our course material. So scroll down past Unit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 underneath Chapter 15, and you'll see the APA module there, so do take a look. Do especially be careful to incorporate all the feedback that I provided for Part 1 of your paper. So if you have problems with your thesis statement, you got problems with your references, please do address those and correct those for the second part. Like you saw for the first part of the paper, I do provide some samples for you. There are actually multiple samples for the outline, what we can maybe call the good, the bad, the ugly, because there's some really good examples, some bad examples, and some fair ones. So take a look at that just so you can get a good idea to use those as a model for your own outline. And so do be careful there, especially to read the instructions. And part of what you're going to read in those instructions there is that you at least need to cite every reference one time. So every reference must be at least cited one time, so please make sure that you do that and don't cite sources that are not in your list of references. Remember, ultimately you are, in the last part of the paper, the third part, going to write the actual literature review, and that's going to be about the sources you actually located as you've documented in your list of 10 references. So make sure that you only cite the ones you've got in your references, and again, don't cite ones that aren't in your references. I know it's a no-brainer to say, but you'd be surprised what I get sometimes as a final paper, so I'm just letting you know now. Also be careful, and you'll find this in the instructions there, to make sure your outline is not just a collection of quotes. Some quotes are fine, but use them judiciously. Don't submit an outline with just quote after quote after quote, because that's not writing, and that's not going to count very much towards your outline. There is a rubric file that you'll find there near the bottom of the instructions, so do look for that. It'll give you some idea of what you need to be careful of so you don't lose any points. And the outline is due just about 2 weeks, a little less, Thursday, October 7th. That's the initial deadline. But you all know you got a 3-day window where you can submit it late, but I advise as always get it in on time, because that way you won't lose any points just for being late. The most recent chapter we did, Chapter 6 on samples, that discussion and quiz has closed as of yesterday on Friday. A lot of you did provide some good summary remarks there about the discussion about the value, the blessing or the curse, as I said in the discussion there for Chapter 6, so I was pleased to see that. Your next chapter, Chapter 7, is our very first strategy chapter, so we're done with all the table setting chapters now that we finished Chapter 6. This is our first research chapter actually, and this is all about the experiment, the experimental research strategy, as you'll see the chapter title there. So a really great chapter to start with there. It'll be review for a lot of you, but I do tell you some things, as do your book authors, that you probably didn't know about experiments, especially what makes a real experiment versus something that is not an experiment. And so make sure you know the criteria, for, there's actually 4 you'll learn about in the lecture and in your book, so make sure you know what those are that really make up a real experiment, and you'll really be glad that you did. Some good stuff in this chapter. Also, I think you'll really like the discussion this time. It's actually a video you're going to watch from a long-running reality show there again, so I won't tell you what it's about, but it's really great. in some ways and distressing too in some ways, and once you watch it you'll see what I mean. Also, you'll see a link there in the Unit 2 module there for some related websites for Chapter 7. Make sure you take a look at that. There's a link to a CBS News report about some recent research on placebo effects that will totally blow your mind, as it blew my mind and every other psychologist that I passed it on to there. It really does kind of upend everything we thought we knew about placebo effects, and it's pretty amazing stuff, and it's actually pretty funny too. Some of the researchers they talked to and some of the studies they did and some of the participants they interview. It's only about 7 minutes long, but it's really great. I always get lots of chuckles and lots of interest when I show it in my face-to-face classes, so you won't be sorry you watched it. It's totally cool, and this is why you take a course like this, because you get to see things like this you're not going to find in a book. So definitely take a look at it. You won't be sorry to examine it. And I'm repeating myself, but just want to stress that. Okay, the quiz and discussion for Chapter 7, that is due next Friday on the 1st, so just to let you know about that. And other than that, the last things I want to say here is don't forget we have live sessions on Monday, so if you can make it this coming Monday at 11 o'clock, 11 a.m., that would be great to see you. And also make sure you're watching those lecture videos there. They'll really help you a lot for this Chapter 7. And there's even a little exercise I walk you through for Chapter 7 too. You'll see a link there to a worksheet for identifying the conditions, what some used to call groups in an experiment, like the experimental group and a control group there, so you can download that Word file and follow along in the video, and I do go over it, so it's really good practice to make sure you understand what's like the experimental group and what's a control group or a condition in an experiment, because it's easy to mix that stuff up if you're not really paying attention. So I do give you some practice. There's 4 little examples that we walk through on the worksheet there, and you'll see it. It's embedded there right around the Chapter 7 lecture video and discussion there, so do look for that. It'll really help you out. Because I do it live in my face-to-face classes. People break down into small groups, and then we go over the answers. So I'm just giving you that same experience there. Otherwise, that's all I want to say. Have a great weekend, and I will see you maybe on Monday or in those lecture videos. So take care until then.